Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Man. I'm Chris, here with Brad, and we're here to talk to you about, as always, other impactful, important things that you, us, men need to know. And well, I want to even ask this question. I wasn't planning on starting with this, but
all right,
I just actually, Brad, I want to ask you this question. Just, do you know what 3 holidays have the highest church attendance?
3 holidays, really? Well, I mean, Christmas, Easter, right? That's easy. I think it's 2.
Yeah. No, you got it.
All right, but there's a 3rd holiday. Is it the Sunday before Super Bowl?
No. Or the Sunday after Super Bowl? No, Mother's Day.
Really? Wow.
Mother's Day is up there in the top 3.
It's because the moms are like,
some of the,
you're going to church today. Let's go.
Yeah, this is what we're doing. This is what I want. And moms usually get honored, right? You know, hey, we want to honor the moms. And people know that's a big deal to the moms. So family shows up because it's all that kind of stuff. So this might be a softball now. Do you know what holiday has the least church attendance?
I mean, it is a softball. I was going to say Super Bowl Sunday, but it's got to be Father's Day. Right?
It's Father's Day.
Yeah.
Father's Day has the least church attendance.
What statistics do you have on that? Like, do you have anything where, you know, why that is?
I don't have numbers. There's some speculation as far as that, you know, it is summer. So the kids are out of school, right? And so there could be vacations and all that. But you know what? There's other weekends that the kids are out of school, and there's other times, and Super Bowl Sunday, the kids are out of school on Sunday, right? They're normally out of school on Sundays. So sure, that those are absolutely some possible factors that are mentioned, but overall, it's because too many of the fathers, you know, well, maybe they're not being honored like the moms are, but they're not making it a priority or a big enough deal for the family to go, oh no, this is important to dad. Let's be there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's what I assumed. Man. Yeah. I mean, we're getting into the topic, right? Like we're going to talk about.
Yeah. I just jumped into, I just went in there.
I mean, well, but I'm like, so we're getting into the fatherless home topic.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep it light. Right?
Yeah. Well, especially after the last episode, you know, we're just keeping it nice and light. Because you know what, we're talking really more about the real impact of a father in a fatherless society. So so we do have this fatherless society, fatherless homes that we're dealing with that can happen because of unforeseen circumstances and all that. So not that there's many women that tend to listen to it, but we do. We have some women who said, I listen to that because I want to know what my husband is thinking and all that. So it's not to call out the women, right? It's or who might be listening, but the focus is on the men. And so, because there's men who listen, you might be a father, maybe you're not a father, maybe you have plans to become a father. It doesn't let you off the hook because we are in a father society, but as men, we have an impact, a huge impact.
Huge. No, so real quick though, I was going to say, if I think a lot of fathers that are there, right, to talk kind of about Father's Day, is they have this like, you know, gruff appearance or they make an appearance that Father's Day doesn't really matter. And it does matter. Like, I don't want to be honored like my kids honor my mom or my mom. You know what I'm getting? My wife. I don't I don't need flowers, all that stuff. But it is like, you still, right? Like you want to be not a pat on the back, but it's just showing love, right? You know, it's a special day out of the year that they do that. And so I would like it if more dads were more apt to be like, hey, I want a good Father's Day, right? Instead of having to be like rough and tough and whatever. Anyway, I know that's a little bit off topic. I'm just saying, if you're listening,
well, no,
do it.
Yeah. because actually you're making me think when you're saying that, us, oh, don't give us much attention. We're just
Yeah.
fathers. And maybe there was a day for that, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that day's anymore. I'm not saying that fathers should get special celebration.
Yeah.
But it's really more of the thought or the idea
Mm-hmm.
that we've got to take the idea of being a father a lot more serious, because
Absolutely.
there's a lot more to it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that maybe we've shucked that off, or that's not the right word. we took it like corn. Maybe we shirked that off.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but this does go into the topic, right? Because society as a whole doesn't take men. I mean, there's a lot of women too, but men don't take that role seriously. And so that's why you see single parent homes where it's a mom.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Yeah.
and that's why you see it, because whether they got married or not, whatever it is, but they don't take that role serious. And, when you brought this topic up to me, and I was like, I like it, not like it. I like the topic for an episode. I like what we're going to talk about. It hit me because I was like, wow, this is where my kids could have been if I didn't decide to turn around and run back to God, right? If I didn't have my road to Damascus experience, if I didn't do all that, like, this is where my kids could have been, in a fatherless home. And I would like to be like, this is where I would say men will say, well, they're going to be taken care of, right? It's okay. They're going to be taken care of. If I'm walking away from my wife and my family, it's okay. She gets half. She's going to have the house. Like, I'm going to pay the kids. Like, I'm going to give her money for the kids, all these things. So they sit there and they go, they're going to be okay, but they're not going to be okay, because they would rather, your wife and your children would rather have you than the money, you than the house, you than all those things. They'd rather just have you. And when you take that away from them, you give them all the money in the world, but those kids are still growing up with a weekend dad that they might see every now and then, every other holiday, whatever it may be. That's what they're growing up into. And then they're going to grow up maybe with another person that steps in to take that role. But at the same time, they're still going to be fractured, because they know, as much as that other person will love them and will treat them like their kids, it's not their real dad.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And even then, I think the best intention, like you're saying, oh yeah, they'll get half, they'll have the house, all that kind of stuff. The statistics, and I don't have them, but the statistics are that the women in divorce, they'll usually get the kids, but they'll also be living at poverty levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
sad.
but men don't.
No.
Yeah. These intentions tend not to actually flush out in the real world, whereas it shows that we might have a little more love of our money and our stuff than making sure that the people whom we've been entrusted, the stewardship that's been given to us, we're not taking that as serious.
Yeah. No, I have this one statistic. Well, I have a couple of statistics, but I looked up the impact of fatherless homes, and it's crazy. It says that over 25 million children in the U.S., this is only U.S., in the U.S. alone, live without their biological father at home. Now, I don't know if that's divorce. I don't know if that's never married, single mother that never got married. I don't know if some tragedy happened. I don't know. It doesn't go into that, but it just says over 25 million children live in the U.S. without their biological father at home. And then it goes on to say 85% of incarcerated men grew up in fatherless homes. 63% of youth suicides take place in fatherless homes. 91% of high school dropouts, fatherless home. 90% of all homeless or runaway kids come from fatherless homes. Like, that's sobering. I wanted to look up like faith-based, and I know you have those things. And then I just stumbled across this, and this is, I mean, we're going to point to Jesus in the Bible all day, every day for everything we say. But this is like a secular thing too. Like, I don't understand how men that choose, one, to have a relationship with a woman and have sex with them, and then they get pregnant and then just choose to walk away. Or two, and I relate to this a little bit more, clearly because of my story, but two, how you can just walk away from a family, right? Like it's just so prevalent in our society that they take God out of the equation. So your life crumbles around and you just live however you want to live. Right. And I think that's what happened with me is I took God out of my equation and then I started living for the flesh. And then I just imploded. Right. But when you have God in the equation, then I think that people start valuing everything on Jesus's level of like, this is marriage. I take it so serious to be a father, like so serious. And I'm so careful on what I say because one word can destroy that kid. One word, especially coming from his father, one word. Lisa always tells me, she's like, she always says, or tells, not me, but just tells the stories of, when I tell the kids something, if they're in trouble, I don't even need to yell. It's just, when they know they're in trouble and it's coming from me, they take it a lot harder than if Lisa's like getting on to them. Right. And she's always said that. Always. It's all three of the kids. It's different for all three of them, but they all take it harder from me. And I'm not screaming and yelling at them. I'm not like bringing the fist down, nothing like that. It's just, she said, it makes you realize the impact that the dad has on their kids, especially if they're in their life daily. Right.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Well, and I forget the verse, but we're told to train up a child in the way they should go. And so that way they don't easily depart from it. I think a lot of people will take that only to mean religion, only to mean, oh, you got to teach them about God and you have to do it. Yeah, and yes, you absolutely do. That train is a military term, so it's not a one and done. So you think about it with military or anything like that, you're training, you're going over and over and over again. Training is not just until it's muscle memory, until you know it, until it's like, I'm so, I've done this so much. I'm tired of it, but I can do it in my sleep. So we've got that going on, but also I've got a couple of verses I've got, which we know how well I do with those readings, but we've got Deuteronomy 6. If we got a clip out there, I didn't keep it in the show, but the clips on YouTube. All right. So Deuteronomy, because I get to edit.
That's
all right.
Right.
Deuteronomy 6 through, yeah, I know. Deuteronomy 6 through 9. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on your doorpost of your house and on your gates. So just if you're not getting the imagery, you're supposed to have it everywhere, and you're supposed to be doing it diligently. You're supposed to be, so that way they know. That way they have there. It's not just oh yeah, well I told you that, and yes, can we constantly be talking to them and saying that and going, hey, we're going to be reading the 10 Commandments again for the 800th time today? No, that's not. I don't think that's what it's saying at all. I think there's not only should it be in our intentional speech, how we're talking to them, what we're talking to them, but they also should see it in us. Yes. Brad, you've said this before, and I love the idea. People, when they show up to your church and see you there, it shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah. It's so, the same with your kids, right? If they see me praying, they shouldn't be like, oh no, something bad's about to happen. Something bad's happening. Dad's praying. Right? That shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
That should not be a thing. It should be normalized like that. I want my kids, if they see me praying, that it's like, oh, dad's praying. Like it's normal. It's not what's about to happen. Oh no. Like, why is he praying?
Yeah.
No, it should be normal, right? It should be normal. So
Mm-hmm.
even it's just so hard to even think, man, I just have a tough time with this. I mean, because I have a passion for not walking out on your family. Because like, I mean, really, let's be honest. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the father that had the opportunity to have a family and then decided to turn around and leave, right? Not the father that, serves his country and never comes home. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
I couldn't find statistics specifically on those, but I would venture to say when you look up the statistics, that's what they're focused on. They're focused on the husband or the man who had the choice to stay or go, and they chose to leave. And now that legacy, you're starting to create, like that man that walked out is creating a legacy where more than likely that kid's going to live in poverty. More than likely that kid's going to go to jail. More than likely he's going to drop out of high school. More than likely he's going to end up homeless. And then that doesn't even hit on his eternal, life, right? That doesn't hit on if he's choosing to go to God.
Sure.
If he's living for Christ. That doesn't even talk about that. That's just talking about statistically, those things are going to happen when that kid does not grow up in a home with a dad.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only are we talking about that, I think we could take a half step back and talk about the fathers who are in the home, who aren't taking their role seriously, who aren't seeing the impact that their role has, or they're disregarding it. They're shirking it off, and they're taking it lightly. On episode 19, we talked about the idea that you're being watched. Right. We've got this crowd of witnesses that are watching, and how you run your race that impacts those around you. We talked about that. We wanted to see our kids like pray. I love that. I want to see that, Dad's praying. What's going to happen? No, we want to see them that this is what we do. We get into the word, we pray. So because we're being watched, and because they're our kids, especially, they're seeing what we're doing, what we're saying. And it also affects not only their day-to-day lives, but it affects their salvation. It affects their eternal lives. It affects what how important they see God. And I'm going to bring it up again, because if we're saying, okay, yeah, we're going to go and I'm going to sell you out to the God of sports, and Wednesdays and Sundays and all this for years, that's church isn't going to matter and be a priority. Well, they're going to believe that, and they're going to see, whether you say it or not, whether you tell them, oh no, church and God's a priority. Well, we're not there. We don't do anything, and there's no follow through. So your words and your actions aren't matching. And so not only am I not going to believe God and make God a priority, but you're not somebody that I'm going to put a lot of weight in eventually. Eventually, I'll get around to understanding that you might be a hypocrite if your words and your actions don't match up. And unfortunately, when I grow up, I'll probably be a person whose words and actions don't match up either. Well, I felt that was harsh.
No, it needs to be said, though, because that absent dad can also be defined as the dad that's there that isn't really involved. Right. Or like your example, they're involved, but they're involved in everything pointing to what's really important in their life, which is probably career, and then seeing their kids score a touchdown, all those things, and putting everything else on the back burner, even their marriage on the back burner, like all of that. It does go into priority. I mean, it was like, I said it a few episodes ago. I don't remember when I say things, but I know I said it. But when we talk about priority, when Javi from 24/7 Marriage, it was said. Javi from 24/7 Marriage, which if you guys haven't, if you're listening and want to like go follow them, they're awesome. He told me, he was like, well, priorities, that word didn't exist until in our history. It was always just priority. And then when he said that, I was like, wow, literally the definition makes it so it can't be plural. Like, what's the most important thing? Right. And so you can have different priorities, right? I know I'm saying plural. You can have different ones. I do have priority at work, but overall my priority is God. Right. And then under that is he's calling me to raise my kids how I need to raise them. And what's most important is that not this time on earth that they have, because it's so short. The most important thing is where they're going to spend eternity, right? And that's what I focus on. Would I love to see my kids score touchdowns? Of course. And I'm not saying sports is bad at all. My kids don't play organized, or they don't play football and all those things. They do like jujitsu tournaments and stuff like that. And I want to see my son beat someone up. Like, I want to see him win, but if that tournament lands on a Sunday, like, he knows, dude, we're not doing that tournament. Like, it landed on a Sunday, man. Like, and he has a lot of obligations at church that he's in the band and sings and stuff like that. So he gets it. But we've always said that if something pops on Sunday, very rarely, there are occasions, but it's very rarely where it's like, oh, okay, well, it does pop on a Sunday, we'll make an exception, but it's very rare, because we just want our kids to know how important it is not to go to church and check the box, but to have the relationship with Christ that they need to have. And part of that is coming together as a community. And that's why church is so important. Right. So it's not so people that are listening, if they're like, oh, well, church isn't that important, we didn't have to go during COVID, blah, 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 blah. Well, church is very important, very important. We are built for community, and you want that community around you to help you be a better husband, to help you be a better father, be a better man. Like, you want all that. Right. Yeah. I step on everyone's toes, Chris. I don't care. Clearly, I'm going to be back here. I'm going to step on their toes after you pass by, because there's too many. Here's the deal. Right? And I know like our wives joke about all this too, but here's the deal. Like, men have not been challenged enough in this era, whenever this era started, whatever it is, but men have not been challenged enough. That's why you see the most influential guys that have podcasts or that have something. Who are they? They're prior Navy SEALs. They're dudes that used to be a fighter. All these like crazy positions that they had before. And if you listen to any of their episodes, what are they doing? They're challenging men to be better, to suck it up. They're not dancing around. They're like, hey, you have responsibilities. You need to handle them. They'll be asked, they'll get a question. When I'm older, how do I stay, when I get older, how do I stay physically fit? How do I do these things? And it's like, well, stop drinking, keep working out, like challenge yourself daily. It's like these, right? But you have so many men that don't get this slap in the face. And it's like, hey, if you've walked away from your family and you're not at home, maybe there's a way you can fix that. Maybe you could see your kids more. I wouldn't say that it's all lost if you've already gotten a divorce and you have to split your time with the kids. I would not say it's all lost. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to have your marriage back. I have no idea on that. But I think you can be more focused on your role as that biological dad. And if you haven't gotten a divorce, if you are at home, and if you're not intentional with your kids, and if you're that absentee dad, suck it up, right? I don't care what you do for a living. Like, it can't be any more stressful than getting shot at, right? I don't care. I don't care what you do for a living. Suck it up. When you get home, suck it up. Be there for your kids. When they want something, be there for them. When your wife wants something, be there for her. Like, it's so important to raise. You're there. You're the man, right? You're not the woman. You're not the kid. You're the man. You need support. You 100% need support, but you also need to step up, period. And so if your toes are getting stepped on, then put those boots on and go to work, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Get some steel toes, steel toe boots. Well, and if you haven't heard it before, men, you are a leader. Okay. Whether you think you're a leader or not. Okay. Whether you feel like you possess traits of a leader, we've said it before. You don't need to be like this big, tall, loud, outgoing guy to be a leader. All that. So you don't have to. So it doesn't have to feel a certain way. You could be a quieter leader. You could be someone who's a little more meek. Jesus talked about the meek inheriting the world. So here today to tell you that you are a leader. People are watching you, and the things that you say and do, they're following. That's what a leader is. A leader is sometimes the person who's taken the step in front of everybody else, who's going out in front of everybody else, who knows just a little more, just that next thing, and is able to pass that back. But then there's people who are influenced and people who respond or do things because of that. And let me talk. So, and Brad, you talked about this a little first. This absent kind of get dad who's in the home, who's not engaged, who isn't showing their kids the priority. Let's look at some different stats. If a mom and the child attend church regularly, right? When that kid grows up, there's only a 2% chance of them being a regular attender. If the dad and the kid attend, the mom doesn't even have to go to church with them. So dads, if mom's not feeling like going to church, she had a rough night and whatever, get up and take the kids to church. Because if you attend regularly, then your kids have a 33 to 75% chance that they'll be regular attenders. Right? Now, if you can't, some people, their jobs, whatever, they can only attend irregularly. Okay. And so, well, if I can't do it all, then why do it, do any? No, don't buy that lie. Because fathers who take their kids and attend irregularly, the kids still have up to a 50 to 66% chance of it being regular attenders when they grow up. Wow. Right. So guys, if you're just showing up as much as you can, or when you can, it still has a pretty significant impact. Because if the father attends and not the mother, kids have like a two-thirds, like 66% chance overall of showing up. Mom attends alone, and this is really what the point is. So if mom attends alone and not the father of the kids, there's a 66% chance they won't attend. Right? It's just something that's not happening. Now let's roll right into salvation, because Brad, you touched on that. Another survey found out that if the kid's the first person to become a Christian, to become a believer, only about 3.5% probability that everybody else in the household will follow. Right? So if the kid, and that's it. Look, that's me and my wife. We both kind of grew up in and out of churches, but our parents really weren't big on church. They weren't really into church and all that. So we're that small percentage that the kids actually should up. But that's okay. Praise God. So if the mom is the first to become a Christian, 17% chance that everybody else in the household will follow. Okay, here's the point. If the father's the first, right? If the father's the first, this is staggering. 93% that the rest of the family will follow and they'll get saved. So dads, if you get saved, and if your kids know that you're saved, right? But your kids have a 93% chance of them follow you into eternity with Christ, versus them following you to an eternity without Jesus, because other things were too important for you, because the sports or sleeping in or activities or whatever it is was too important, and you were responsible for leading your kids straight off the edge.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tag along with that. If you're listening to this and you're like, but I'm overworked, I'm very tired, all these things, the weekends for me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that think this has recently happened, that think that my wife and I do our ministry full time, that we don't do anything else. And we've been asked a few times. I thought, and then they're surprised. I thought you did this full time, because we both do this. We have 2 podcasts. We have marriage weekend intensives. We do coaching throughout the week. All these things are going on. I have a full-time career. And so I understand having a weekend where I'm tired, mentally fogged out, the whole bit. I get it. But you still get up, you still do the things, and you suck it up. And I'm not saying to like suppress feelings, and I'm not like, don't. Mm-hmm. I get so mad at some of those comments, because as soon as I say something and then they're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, clearly, I don't mean that. You know, if you're in an abusive relationship, get out, right? Like,
yeah, clearly.
I clearly do not mean that. So I'm not telling you to shove your feelings down and just suck it up and just be the stoic dad. What I'm telling you to do is, you're not the only one that's tired. And if you're listening to us and you're like, wow, they have it, of course, you know, they have this opportunity they have all the free time in the world because all they do is this and this. No, not at all. That's not true at all. We both have careers. We're both busy people, and we both listen, I like sleeping in. My sleeping in, though, is very early compared to other people sleeping in, but I still like to sleep in. But I'm not going to miss something that I can help with my kids. Like, I'm not going to miss pointing them to Jesus because I'm too tired. I'm not going to miss leading my family because I'm too tired. Like, I'm not going to do it. So don't sit there and listen to this and be like, well, I can't do that. Yes, you can do that. You 100% could do that. You can choose to be the leader of your household. You could choose to be the father that you would want your kids to be to your grandkids. You want to build that legacy. Mm-hmm. You can do that. You can do that. So I get so tired of the excuses of, I'm too tired, I work too much, blah, blah. Join the club, man. Get in line. All right. Get in line, because it starts right here. And, you know, let's go. I mean, it just, don't get me started. I'm going to step on more toes. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I was just getting ready to step on some toes and going, you're too tired Sunday morning? I don't know. Maybe get off the PlayStation sometime before 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You know,
so true.
Maybe go to bed with your wife and nourish that relationship. And then that way, you know, everything, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, that was harsh.
If you even if you go to bed with your wife, you could stay up a little later, but you still need to get up. You still need to get up in the morning for church.
That's true. That's true. You know, gosh. Work it out, figure it out. You know, there's things that are going on that, yes, if you work third shift and you're getting off at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, is it incredibly hard for you then to sit in a 9:30 service and stay awake? Sure, it could be, but I'm also not sure. Look, I'm also going to stretching it out that when you get home after third shift, you probably don't go straight to bed, right? You probably don't just like, as soon as you're in the door, you're in bed. There's probably some things that you end up doing anyway before you hit it out. So we're talking about a little bit of an adjustment. We're talking about having to reprioritize, right? And to go, okay, what's important for me? What should be, well, I need to make what's important to me, what's important to my family. Right. I need to put their needs ahead of my own on certain levels. I got another verse. I got 1 Timothy 5:8. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for the members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Guys, that's the context of it is not just food. There is a context of food and shelter and all that, but are you leading? Are you providing for them an example? Are you providing them for something that you want them to be? I love that how you said that, Brad, that you want the father to your grandkids to be. And it's not too late. If you still have kids in the house, your dad has kids in the house, and you're in the house, make the decision to change. Let everybody know. That way it's accountable. Hey, you know what? We haven't been going to church, and I've decided that I want us to start going to church. And so we're going to start going this Sunday. If you got the means and all that, make it a family day, right? Hit church and then hit lunch afterwards. Have a fun time. Make a morning of it. But do something. Make the decision and make it known. Right? Start to take the steps. If your kids are grown, I mean, like, it's not too late to start going to church and letting them know about it, and then talking about it and going, "Hey, I made a mistake. I didn't do this when I should have, but we're doing it now, and we think that you should do it too." Right? Don't let it be. Don't live in regret. We had a whole episode about regret. You don't need to do that. Now's the time for you to go ahead and make decisions about what can we do now. If we didn't do it before, what can we do now? Brad, you talked about it before. If you're not in the house with the kids, and if you're a dad who's something's happened, whatever reason, how can you get more engaged with your kids now? How can you start to, even if it's not your weekends, maybe to be a part of the church? Maybe start to, I don't know. I don't know the answers to your specific situation, right? Obviously. But I do know there is an answer. I know Jesus makes ways where we don't think there are ways. I know that, that sometimes things feel out of our control and past decisions might feel like we can't overcome them, but God's big on redemption. God's big on second chances. So if you're serious about it and you seek God, he's going to help hook you. He's going to help hook you up. I guess that's probably not the most religious way to say it, but it's probably the best way to say it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, because here, let me go. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Because look, guys, the average man, he's disengaged and puts priority on himself and instead of on the generation behind him. Right? He underestimates the power of his impact, and he sits on the sidelines in the lives of his own children. Right? And also the average man, he unplugs. He's careless with that leadership that he has. And he's not willing to change the legacies. Right? You're in an opportunity to change those legacies. Because the above average man is involved and he takes his role seriously. He sees the value he has to offer his children and the world. Right? You guys, you have something. God didn't put you there for nothing. You have a purpose. The above average man, he's involved as a father, as a leader, and as a man seeking to make his children's lives and society better. And the above average man faithfully follows the ultimate father and leads by following his example. So go be better than your average man.